In the summer of 1980, a team of CIA operatives was given a task so sensitive it was kept from most of the agency itself. Find the men who run Iran, map their movements, understand how they could be removed. It was not the first time Washington had tried to reshape Iran's destiny from the inside. It would not be the last. What followed, across 4 decades, is one of the most sustained covert campaigns in modern intelligence history. Assassination plots, defection attempts, sabotage, proxy pressure. Some of it failed spectacularly. Some of it worked in ways that altered the entire trajectory of the Middle East. This is the documented story of what the world's most powerful intelligence agencies tried to do to the Islamic Republic and what it cost everyone. To understand why Western intelligence agencies became so fixated on Iran's leadership, you have to understand the shock of 1979. The Islamic Revolution was not just a change of government, it was a fundamental rupture in the post-war order. America lost its most powerful regional ally overnight. 52 US diplomats were held hostage for 444 days. The CIA's entire network of assets inside Iran, when they built painstakingly over decades, was exposed, rolled up, and in many cases executed. The agency was humiliated, and humiliation in intelligence work produces obsession. Iran's new leadership understood this. Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the revolution's architect, made no secret of his contempt for what he called the Great Satan, and his government began building the kind of security apparatus that would make future foreign penetration extraordinarily difficult. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, was established in May 1979, just months after the revolution. It was designed to be a military force, loyal not to the state, but to the supreme leader personally. Over time, it would develop its own intelligence arm, its own navy, its own aerospace division, and it would become the primary target of every Western covert operation for the next 40 years. By the early 1980s, the picture had grown more complex. Iran was at war with Iraq, a war that the United States quietly supported on both sides at different moments. Israel had its own calculations, watching a revolutionary Shia state establish links with armed groups along its borders. And in Lebanon, a new force was emerging, Hezbollah, trained, funded, and ideologically connected to Tehran. The covert battle had begun in earnest. In March 1984, William Buckley, the CIA station chief in Beirut, was kidnapped by Hezbollah operatives connected to Iran's intelligence ministry. He was tortured for information about CIA operations across the region. He died in captivity in 1985. The agency would later describe his death as one of the most damaging intelligence losses in its history. The response was not purely military. Within Langley, a unit was quietly tasked with identifying the chain of command between Tehran and Hezbollah's leadership. The goal was disruption, and in some proposals that circulated internally, something considerably more permanent. Those proposals were never officially sanctioned, but what emerged instead was a sophisticated program to penetrate, monitor, and, where possible, destabilize the IRGC's Quds force, the external operations branch responsible for Iran's proxy network. By the late 1990s, Iran's nuclear program had become the central preoccupation. In a classified operation later exposed by journalist James Risen and confirmed in court proceedings, the CIA passed deliberately flawed nuclear weapons blueprints to Iran through an unwitting Russian defector. The idea was to sabotage Iran's weapons development from within. The operation backfired. Iranian scientists reportedly identified the flaws and may have used what remained useful in the designs regardless. It was a cautionary lesson. Covert action against a sophisticated state actor is rarely clean. Between 2010 and 2012, 5 Iranian nuclear scientists were killed in targeted attacks inside Iran. The method was almost identical each time. A motorcyclist would attach a magnetic bomb, called a sticky bomb, to the scientist's car as it moved through morning traffic. The bomb would detonate seconds later. Iran blamed Israel and the United States immediately. Both denied involvement, but 3 separate American officials speaking anonymously to the New York Times confirmed that Israel had conducted the assassinations. The CIA's role, if any, has never been officially confirmed. The message to Iran's scientific establishment was unambiguous. The work you're doing makes you a target, but the Iranian program did not stop. It accelerated. The most technically sophisticated covert operation ever conducted against Iran required no assassins, no safe houses, no dead drops. It required a USB drive. Stuxnet was a computer worm developed jointly by the United States and Israel under a classified program reportedly codenamed Olympic Games. It was designed to do one very specific thing: make Iran's uranium enrichment centrifuges at Natanz tear themselves apart, while reporting to their operators that everything was running normally. It worked. Approximately 1,000 centrifuges were destroyed. Iran's enrichment program was set back by an estimated 2 years. When Stuxnet was discovered by cybersecurity researchers in 2010, it marked a moment in history. It was the first known use of a cyber weapon by one state against another, and it opened a domain of covert conflict that has never closed. Iran responded. Its own cyber capabilities, virtually non-existent in 2010, grew rapidly in the years that followed. Iranian hackers attacked Saudi Aramco, US banks, Israeli infrastructure. The covert war had gone digital. Then came the moment that transformed the covert war into something visible. January 3rd, 2020, Baghdad International Airport. Major General Qasem Soleimani, commander of the IRGC's Quds Force, the most powerful military figure in Iran outside the supreme leader himself, was killed by a US drone strike as his convoy left the airport. Soleimani was not a shadowy intelligence operative. He was one of the most recognizable faces in Iran. His portrait hung in streets across the country. He had appeared on Iranian state television dozens of times. He was, by most assessments, the second most powerful man in the Islamic Republic. The Trump administration justified the strike under Article 2 presidential authority, citing an imminent threat. Intelligence assessments released later were disputed by former officials who questioned whether the threat threshold was met. What is not in dispute is the strategic calculation behind it. For years, the United States had been tracking Soleimani. His network, stretching from Tehran through Baghdad, Damascus, Beirut, and into Yemen, had been responsible for the deaths of hundreds of American soldiers through Iranian-supplied roadside bombs. He had, by all intelligence accounts, been the architect of Iran's expanding regional influence. Killing him was a decision that had been on the table and rejected by multiple previous administrations. The response from Tehran was measured but deliberate. Iran fired ballistic missiles at 2 Iraqi bases housing American troops. Advance warning may have been communicated, whether deliberately or through Iraqi channels. Casualties were limited, but the message was sent. Deterrence, Iranian style, was recalibration rather than escalation. And yet, the Quds Force continued its operations. Iran's proxy network did not collapse. The power vacuum left by Soleimani was filled within weeks by his deputy Esmail Khani. The covert campaign had produced its most dramatic moment, and yet the fundamental strategic reality of Iranian regional power remained intact. The years following Soleimani's death saw the covert campaign intensify rather than diminish. In November 2020, Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, Iran's top nuclear scientist and a brigadier general in the IRGC, was killed on a highway outside Tehran in an operation of extraordinary technical complexity. A remote-controlled machine gun mounted in a pickup truck, operated by satellite from outside Iran, opened fire with enough precision to kill Fakhrizadeh while sparing his wife sitting beside him. Iran blamed Israel. The operation bore the hallmarks of Mossad. No official claim was ever made. Iranian parliamentarians called for retaliation. The IRGC pledged revenge, but the pattern held. Iran's response was calibrated, not catastrophic. Attacks on Israeli-linked shipping in the Persian Gulf intensified. Cyber attacks on Israeli water infrastructure were attributed to Iranian actors. The pressure mounted through proxies and plausible deniability on both sides. It is worth pausing here to understand that this covert war has always had a global dimension. In 1994, a bomb destroyed the AMIA Jewish Community Center in Buenos Aires. 85 people were killed. Argentine prosecutors, after years of investigation, indicted senior Iranian officials, including a former president, for ordering the attack. Interpol issued red notices for several of them. None were ever extradited. The case became a decades-long symbol of how Iran's covert operations reach far beyond the Middle East, and how difficult accountability becomes when a sovereign state is the alleged perpetrator. The documented pattern of Iranian covert activity abroad and Western covert activity against Iran reveals something important. This is not a conflict with a clear front line or a defined battlefield. It is a war fought in parking lots, server rooms, port authorities and scientific conferences, and its casualties are often invisible to the public until they are not. The question that every covert operation ultimately fails to answer is the strategic one. What is the end state? 40 years of pressure, sanctions, assassinations, sabotage, cyber attacks, proxy warfare have not collapsed the Islamic Republic. They have not reversed its nuclear program. They have not dislodged its regional influence. What they have done is create a leadership in Tehran that is deeply, structurally paranoid about foreign penetration, and that has built redundancy into every layer of its power structure precisely because it expects to be targeted. The IRGC today is not just a military force. It controls an estimated 30 to 40% of Iran's economy. It runs construction companies, telecommunications firms, import-export operations. Its financial interests are so deeply embedded in Iranian society that removing it from power would require dismantling the economy itself. Covert operations can kill individuals, they cannot dissolve institutions. What has repeatedly come closest to shaking the regime is not foreign action, but domestic dissent. The Green Movement of 2009, the economic protests of 2018 and 2019, the uprising following Mahsa Amini's death in 2022. Each time the IRGC suppressed the protests. Each time the democratic moment passed. The question Western policymakers continue to wrestle with is whether covert pressure helps or hinders those internal movements, whether it gives the regime a foreign enemy to point to, and whether that enemy serves as a pressure release valve for public anger that might otherwise be directed at Tehran. The evidence is genuinely ambiguous, and that ambiguity is the honest conclusion of 4 decades of classified effort. 40 years, billions of dollars, dozens of operations, some successful, some catastrophic, most somewhere in between. The Islamic Republic still stands. It is more isolated than it was in 1979. Its economy is damaged. Its population is by many measures deeply frustrated with its leadership. Its regional influence, paradoxically, has expanded from a revolution confined to one country into a network of aligned forces across an entire region. The covert war has shaped the Middle East. It has not decided it. History rarely offers a clean verdict on these operations in real time. The full picture, what worked, what didn't, what we don't yet know, will take generations to emerge. The question worth sitting with tonight is this. When a covert campaign runs for 40 years without achieving its strategic objective, is it a failure of execution? Or is it evidence that the objective itself was never achievable by these means? Leave your answer below, and consider carefully what it says about the tools democracies choose when they believe the stakes are high enough.